Welcome to the Aligned Feminine.
Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Aligned Feminine, hanging out with your favorite spiritual besties,
It's you girls, Taylor,
Sammy.
and we're here to help you have a deeper relationship with yourself, your health, and your spirituality to transform and expand your life.
We are so excited to be here. And today we're going in deep, talking about da 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 da. Drum roll, please, Taylor. For those of you guys who don't see on the audio, she's playing some tuning forks because we're talking about self-love, baby. We're talking about pouring into you energetically, physically, mentally, spiritually, in all of the ways.
And me and Sammy were talking on our call before this, and I don't even know. We always just exude self-love on these, well, just like all the time, I feel like. But we were talking about it, and Sammy was like, "Why don't we talk about this on the podcast?" And we both just lit up. We were like, "Yes, this is my favorite topic." I don't know. There's just something about just pouring into yourself. And me and Sammy have learned genuinely like all the ways to do that. And we do it and it just shows and you can feel it and it's a good feeling.
Yes, so we definitely hope you guys are feeling it, especially because we're recording this the week after Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day to all you beautiful souls. I hope that you guys had such an amazing weekend. Taylor and I actually thought we would start off this call just kind of giving you the tea on how our Valentine's Day was. So Taylor, how did Tyler spoil us? Not just you, but us and all of the aligned feminines with us.
Wait, I love that so
Spoiled.
I love that so much. He spoiled me enough for all the girlies. Yeah, he's just the best. I don't know if you could see in the background, but there's like a giant ass heart balloon if you are watching on YouTube. It's huge. I was at my family's house Valentine's Day and I knew I was coming home to something. I didn't know what, but I was like, "Ah, he's been home and I just have a feeling he's gonna have something." So little backstory is we've been dating for like exactly a year, and last year our second date fell on Valentine's Day, like our second ever date. And I was like, ooh, this is risky. Like we have plans on Valentine's Day. Like we didn't even really realize it. We were just like, let's hang out again on Tuesday, you know? And in my head, I was like, he's not gonna get me anything. Like, we're such a new, like we're still in the talking phase, like, whatever. And I walked into his house and he had a big bouquet of roses. He had a big thing of chocolates for me and like the sweetest card. And I was like, okay, yeah. I was like, this is the one for sure. For so many other ways. But like that was our first Valentine's Day ever. And this year he did the exact same thing, which I was so happy about because I'm such a nostalgic person. So like in my head, I was like, oh, I really hope he has like just a thing of roses for me. Like that's all I would want because we have such insider things about roses and it's just like our family connection in that way. And so yeah, that's like my favorite gift also. I don't know if you could see there's one like right in the background right here.
They look beautiful, divine.
Thank you. So he did a good job. Cheers to Tyler.
We love you. Thank you for being an amazing representation of a man.
For real. Oh my God. Like when you get one and you're like, "Oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like," you know? It just kind of it all makes sense. So,
You think about it, you gave yourself so much love and so much devotion before you met Tyler. So that's why I just love that we started off kind of like talking about your Valentine's Day because I know that there's ladies that are single or maybe they're in a situationship and they just need that positive example of yes, queens, like men are good. There are amazing men out there. I know so many. So I low key get like fed up when people are like, yeah, I just don't believe that like there's a good guy out there. And I'm like, well, that's because of your limiting beliefs right there. That's why you don't believe them. So I just hope that Taylor and Tyler, LOL, that always makes me laugh so hard. But I hope that they can be a really good example for you guys because remember, like what you feed your brain with and what you're focusing on, that's what manifests. So if you're in a position where you want something like that, I hope you got flowers for yourself. And if not, you can go to Trader Joe's. They're like $3.99 and they're no excuses.
Girl, oh my God, that's so true. And I used to do that all the time for myself. Like at least once a month. It was like with grocery shopping, I had to pick up flowers that I was called to because they just bring such a loving energy to your house too, you know? And every time you look at them, you're reminded that you bought them for self-love. I love those. Oh my God. If you guys are watching, you'll see that Sammy has the prettiest flowers. Oh.
Sad, which we're sad. We love you and we appreciated your time period. I feel like I get the saddest when they die, you know? I'm
Oh, I
like,
know.
stay with me.
Trust me, I know. And that's like every plant in my house too. I'm like, damn, y'all are just dropping like flies. I can't keep them alive. But their time with us was very meaningful.
We treated them with so much love and care as they're wilting there.
I I know, literally. But it's a thought that counts. So I think it's super important to touch on, like you said, like when we're alone and when we're not in a relationship where we're feeding off of someone else's love and not being dependent on it, but just being surrounded by it and filled with it. And I was just listening to the Broski Report podcast, which, oh my God, it's just the funniest thing ever. Like Brittany Broski, shout out you. You are literally hilarious. And she was saying the saddest story about Valentine's Day and her one of her exes. She was like, all I wanted for Valentine's Day was flowers from my boyfriend, and he's not the type to like do that and whatever. And she's like, and I get in the car and I like sit down on the seat and there's a plush flower, like a what is it? Like a stuffed animal flower or like a little like fake thing. And she was like, "Oh, is this for me?" And he was like, "Yeah, I got you this so you never have to ask for them again." Like, because it doesn't die or whatever. And she was like, "Oh, okay. Thank you very much." Like, whatever. But oh my God, that story broke my heart. And she was saying, like, with the self-love, she's like, girl, and I got myself flowers then. I was like, fuck this man. I'm not relying on anyone. And I think that's the whole purpose of what I'm trying to say is like, you shouldn't rely on anyone for that love that pours back into you. Like, if you find out how to just keep that rotation going within yourself and just keep giving it back to yourself, you don't look for it in any external things in life, like anything. You are whole within yourself, which is the best place to get to, genuinely.
I totally agree. And I think it's so important to shed a light on that because it's not even just men that you can like fall into and fall in love with and just be like, okay, you're my entire life. But it can be your job, it can be a hobby, it can be a friend. Like it can honestly be anything in your life and you can have it all. Like I know so many people that talk about rich people that are fucking miserable or people that look like they have it all. They have the dream relationship, they have the dream business, they have the money, they have the travel, but they don't have this feeling within themselves of being whole and complete and enough. And I think it would be really cool to talk about and some things that I personally did for Valentine's Day because this was my first year celebrating single. And I'm going to be very vulnerable with you guys. It was hard, okay? Like, I woke up in such a positive perspective and I just love to celebrate love. And I had all these things that, like, I just naturally did for myself. It wasn't really a plan so much as me just being intuitive with how can I pour as much love as possible into my day. But I was very blessed in my relationship that when it came to holidays and days like this, like I was spoiled, you know, and I felt that love from gifts that I had gotten, memories that we had shared, things that we would do together. Like I know on my birthday last year, like he made me pancakes and put like 25 on it for like the year. So it's really small things like that. And I don't think people will take the time to grieve that, you know? Like for me, I did spend 90% of my day super happy, giving myself so much love. And I'll talk to you guys about like what I did for myself. But I just want to be vulnerable and transparent about that 10% that was heartbroken. And that was like, oh my God, this low key sucks, you know? And there's space for both, especially when you're still healing. I know Taylor and I have talked about this a couple of times, but if you were in a long distance relationship or you're kind of like in a relationship where you just don't know what is going on, or like what Taylor was saying, you're not feeling that kind of love, like there is going to be a time period that you need to grieve those like expectations, the memories, the experiences, but also see it as like a reflection of what can you do for yourself. So what I personally did is I took all the things that I loved about what my partner had done for me and I did them for myself. So for example, he had written me a love letter. So I decided to write my own love letter to myself. And that's actually how I started my day. I woke up, I did a meditation for like love and blessings that Ricky Rachel, shout out to you, boo. We love you. Had done. And then I wrote myself my own love letter and I called myself beautiful. And I took myself on a date. I went to the gym and I wore this sexy pink bodysuit because duh. On Wednesdays, we wear pink. If you know, you know. Even though Valentine's Day was a Friday. But we wore pink. I felt so good. If you guys want a representation, please take a look at the new cover photo. Doesn't it look fucking amazing? Thank you, Miss Taylor, for helping with the rebrand. Beautiful. So I made sure to really dress nice for myself. I did my hair, I did my makeup. I was feeling so good. And then I took myself on a date and I went to a sound bath. And this is where it's really important. I did things that I would want to do both alone and with somebody else, right? So these are things that I would be doing if I did have a partner in mind. So I think that's just really good when you're manifesting something like that too. Like right now, I'm dating myself. So that worked really well for me because it's like, okay, how can I make myself a special dinner? How can I romanticize my own life? How can I take myself on a date? And that's the stage of my life that I'm at. But maybe you're feeling healed and you're like, okay, like I'm really wanting to call in my soulmate. I'm really wanting to call in the one. You can kind of transmute that energy and be like, okay, this is something that I would want to do with my person. So maybe you're taking yourself out to dinner because you want your person to take you out on special dinners and treat you. Maybe you're, for me, I love like getting my hair touched. So lately, like I've been just like brushing my own hair and like giving compliments to my hair and smelling it and being like, ooh, this smells so good, you know? So it's just like, how can you pour into you? Because at the end of the day, with everything in life, it all comes back to how we feel about ourselves. Like if you're a girl that's feeling stuck in your relationship and you're not feeling the love that Taylor was talking about before, a part of that is manifesting, and you just have to take like complete responsibility because you're not doing it for yourself. And I know because I had it all and I was not doing those little things for myself, and or they just like kind of fell off to the back burner, and then I had to start doing them all over again because I had reverted back a little bit. So if you're feeling just like lack of love, it's because you're not doing it for yourself. So, what do you like? What do you enjoy? What are characteristics that make you feel loved? Actions that make you feel loved? And how can you start doing them right now? Like right after you're done listening to this podcast, like with no thought about it, but just boom, incorporating it.
Girl, oh my God. I fucking love this topic so much. And I feel like there's so many details to touch on when it comes to self-love. Like, it's also, we have to touch on the energy behind it. And like what you like you said, like what you manifest from all of that. So it's like the energy of desperation versus fulfillment. When you're fulfilled already, like you're coming from like a loving wholeness type of energy where you're not like that desperate feeling or the feeling where you're just like, oh, I just want to like talk to someone, like I need a guy, I need whatever. You're creating like such this freedom, like trusting energy, like you get deeper connections that way because you're not just jumping into something, you're like taking the time of being like, okay, I have everything I already need. And to be in that position is the best position you could be in, I think. Like, I have everything I need, so I'm going to see if you compliment me in that way and you meet me where I'm at because I'm already whole. Like, I already feel whatever. Um, Whereas the opposite, it's like when you're seeking from a place of emptiness, maybe just like looking for someone to fill certain gaps within yourself, it can create like an attachment type love or fear, or like it can turn into like a controlling type thing. Like it really is the energy behind it too, and like how you present yourself to the world, and you're giving off this like, I don't need anyone, but like I love myself so much that like if I think that you compliment me and like uplift me even more, sure, like you're just an addition, but you're not my whole world, you're not my whole life. And I think that's really important. And I have been through that in relationships, and I've seen both sides, and it's just been really eye-opening of a thing. And like Sammy kind of touched on before, is like when I went through like my big breakup, I allowed myself a solid 4 to 5 years before getting in another relationship afterwards. And this was solely because I loved myself. Don't get me wrong. Like I would look in the mirror and I had all the, like, oh my gosh, I look so pretty today. And I love my eyes and I love my hair. And that's a whole nother part of self-love that we'll touch on. But it was like more so that fulfillment in myself and thinking like I need a man. Like I love myself, but like I need that love from someone else. And I gave myself a full like couple years to genuinely just sit with myself and to fall in love with myself again. And I think that's the thing, is like people will also get kind of intimidated by the process of that. But it's like anything, like you see someone and you admire them, but even deeper, you admire their courage, you admire the things that they've gone through in life and how they have handled it and all these things. And I started looking at myself in that way, like a deeper perspective of being like, Taylor, like, I love the way that you handled this situation and you grew from it. And like, look at the person you are. And like, just such a deeper level of that. Whereas what we do on a daily basis, and I think it's so healthy for other people to do, and Coach Sammy has this incorporated in her programs, which is so amazing. The affirmations of when you're looking at yourself and you're just sending yourself all of this love verbally. You're being like, oh, I love my eyes. They just twinkled today. And like, just be delulu with it if you have to or if you want to. But that makes such a difference too. And at first, this is just like a quick tip for you. At first, if you don't fully feel like you love things about yourself, say it anyway, and act as if someone is giving you a compliment, and like sometimes you don't believe, or sometimes in your head you're like, oh, thanks, like I look good today. Like I feel like I look like shit. Receive it. Learn how to receive love from other people, and then you'll be able to like, well, I guess maybe flip-flop. Learn how to receive love from yourself, and then eventually you'll learn how to receive good, positive, healthy love from other people. So there's so much at work when it comes to self-love, and I'm just obsessed with it because me and Sammy had such extensive journeys with it and our own journeys, but they have blended together where we just love ourselves and we love each other. So it's like, do we really need anyone else if we have each other and ourselves? Sorry, Tyler.
I think that's the thing, right? Like if you're in a healthy relationship, at least in my opinion, it's like, okay, I have a healthy number one, like person number one. And then I
Mhm.
have a healthy person number two. You each have your own desires, your own goals, and you find a way to come together. And when it's a person that's meant for you, it's all going to end up aligning, like it's going to end up working out. And I think the more that you can just focus on yourself, the more you're going to call that in. And when it comes to self love, I think a lot of it ties down to worthiness. I love how you brought up not being able to receive love because I think that's something that I've personally had like such a hard time doing. And that's been a really big lesson that I've been learning this past, I would say, like year is just how to receive and how to receive love in all forms. Because I think sometimes, especially when it comes to let's say self-love or just love in general, sometimes we think about this as just materialistic things. Sometimes we think about it as just actions of like, well, you do that proves that you love me. But for me, The thing that I was the most grateful for in my relationship was the emotional support and love that they had given me, like the deep conversations and the brainstorming hours. And if you're not in an energy to like actually receive those things, it's kind of going to make you uncomfortable. And I think that's what kind of happened to me is I was like, I just don't know how things can be this good. And like, I just started to, like Taylor had said it earlier, self-sabotage in a lot of ways. And this can come out of like you being so on point with like your rituals, with your affirmations, with your meditation. And then all of a sudden you're like cold turkey not doing it anymore. And you're like, wait, what? Like, what happened? So it's like, very little things in your life can be self-love, but it all really comes together. And you're only going to do it if you feel like you're worthy of it. And I feel like that was just confirmation, right? But you need to feel worthy of putting this time into yourself, of putting this effort into yourself, of putting this energy into yourself. And that's especially true when it comes to something like Taylor just talked about of taking 4 years off to just focus on you, you know? And from all of the greats that I've been like listening to and reading from, and even my own higher self, like she kept telling me, you need to be alone. Like you need to love yourself. And when you don't love yourself, you're going to look for so many other vices to help you feel that way. But it's like sometimes it just really takes you going deep and asking yourself the hardest questions you've ever asked yourself. Like, I'm going to be super vulnerable with you guys. Yesterday, I was telling Taylor, I asked myself, do I believe in a happily ever after love, like a fairy tale soulmate connection? Do I even believe that kind of love exists? Like, do I believe it is possible to love yourself wholly and completely? And it's okay if you don't. It's okay if you haven't been shown that, but you have to have some awareness first and ask yourselves, like, okay, this is something I'm craving, but do I actually believe that's for me? Because that's something that I've been personally working on is believing that that's for me. I'm worthy of that. And then the other question was, am I ready for a type of self-love and love from all forms to come flowing into my life and sweep me off my feet? So for me, for an example, that would be like, would I be ready to move on? Like, am I ready for my knight in shining armor? Am I ready for thousands and thousands of people to watch my social media? Are Taylor and I ready to have millions of subscribers for the Aligned Feminine? Right? And I want to be so transparent with you guys. My answer was, I don't know if I'm ready yet. Because like as much as I love myself and as much as I like put all of this energy into me, like there's still parts of teenager Sammy and child Sammy that needs a little bit more love. And like I'm there. Like I'm right on the cusp. Like I'm doing all of the work every single day. But I don't know. I just kind of felt called to tell you that if you're not fully there yet, it is totally okay. And we're just in this together. And this is like a lifelong journey. We have these big goals. We have all this love that we want to give to ourselves. But I know for me, I wasn't really taught how to love and I wasn't taught how to receive love. So it's a learning lesson for me every single day. And I think it's something we get to learn. And that's the beautiful thing about self-love is that you get to do it. Are you struggling to hit your protein goals? Tired of feeling sore, sluggish, and like your progress is stuck in slow motion? Your body is begging for fuel, aka protein, baby. This is where First Form Protein comes in. This high quality, delicious protein helps build lean muscle, speed up recovery, and keep you feeling strong and energized all day long. No chalky shakes, no bloating, just pure, smooth, and satisfying nutrition. It literally tastes like a milkshake. I will never miss a scoop because it keeps me fueled, full, and ready to crush my goals. So don't wait. Level up your nutrition right now. Hit my link in the show notes to grab your first form protein today and experience the gains for yourself.
Oh my God, I love that so much. And it's so true. It is a lifelong journey. Like it's not like overnight you just learn to love yourself and then you're obsessed with yourself and that's it. Like my 4 year journey was genuinely like not planned and it wasn't something I was like, I'm gonna take 4 years off now and I'm just gonna love myself. It was like deep dive and uncovering things that I didn't like about myself. and shedding light to them and being like, okay, this is in the spotlight and this is affecting my life in this way. So how can I learn to love it and how can I navigate it? And just some examples of that are honestly receiving love in forms of anything like favors. I would feel so guilty for no reason, like receiving it. And that is like love, like that I would just kind of be like, no, no, I'll do it myself. Like, even if it's hard for me and it's so inconvenient, like, I would rather just struggle through that than to receive something like that big of a favor, you know? So, and that also goes with taking up space, which is what I'm now deep diving into in my life currently, which I think I've said on the podcast like recently. And that's like another self-love thing is like I'm allowing myself to be seen and to be like, I love myself. I deserve to be in this space and I deserve to take up all this space. And it's like receiving that energy of like, yeah, I deserve love coming from other people too and myself and everything. So when I get a compliment, and Sammy has said this before because we all do it now. I took a page from my mom's book of someone would be like, "Oh my God, you look so pretty," and instead of being like, "No, I don't look that good," or like, "No, like whatever," I would fully take it and be like, "Ah, yeah, I do. Like, go on." Like, yeah. And it does something. I don't know what it is. It's just like affirming or just being in the energy of like, yes, yes, I know I look pretty. And honestly, I've done that for, I think throughout college, I think high school, like the end of high school, and when guys would like try and hit on me and they would compliment me or say something and I wanted to just be like bitchy about it, I would just be like, or not bitchy, we're gonna change that narrative. I would just affirm it and just be like, I know. Like, okay, girl, you look pretty. I know. Like, I know I do. Like, I don't need your opinion. You know what I mean? Like, your opinion is just an extra. Like, I know I look pretty. I know I got that going. And the more I would say that, like in the literally in the least cocky way ever, but the more I would say that, the more I felt it. And the more I felt just so matter of fact about myself in that way. So, I don't know if you have to like do these little tricks to just kind of like get your brain going in that direction of like, I'm the shit. I love myself so much. Yeah, I got a big forehead. I love my big forehead. Yeah, I got a big nose. I love my big nose.
I love you.
This stuff helped me. I don't know if it's gonna help y'all, but if there's stuff that you don't love about yourself, like just be delulu about, you know what? I was formed from two people that loved each other so much. So I am the product of love. Whatever I look like, I was formed from love and I am nothing but love. And it just brings a beautiful perspective to it. So,
I love that because especially think about it when we were kids, like we would be so authentic, we'd be so ourselves. If we had any emotion, it would just like come out right away, you know? Like we
mhm.
weren't really conditioned to put ourselves in this box. And we didn't worry about whether or not our stomach was showing or if we had cellulite on our skin. We weren't worried about a zit and making that ruin the entire date night or whatever. So it's just like, how can you connect back to feeling that pure, you know, because we came into this earth perfect. Like our parents were so grateful for us. Like spirit was so grateful for us being here. So it's just about remembering that and remembering that you were just perfect as you are and you're here for a reason. Like that's something that gets me through all the time when it comes to self-love is just that every single thing is happening for a reason. Every single lesson, every single experience, every single decision. And think about if you're coming at a situation in life, because I get it, you know, life can be hard and it can kind of knock you down. And when you feel knocked down, you might not feel as confident. You might not feel like loving yourself as much because you're just going through it. And like, I want to validate that that is okay and that's normal. But think about if you're just continuing to pour self love into yourself and you're coming at it with, you know what, I got ready today. I know I look good. Like, Tell me more because I just know that I am worth this next client. Like, yes, 100%. And you're in that vibe. When it comes to attacking things in your day, you're going to feel a lot more confident. You're going to feel a lot more grounded with the decisions that you're making, which means you're going to trust yourself more and you're going to trust the universe more. And that's a huge part of self-love too, is trusting yourself, like trusting that you are enough just because you're you, and trusting that you will get anything that you want in life, anything that you desire, anything that you need to do, you're gonna get it done. And that trust, ooh, I feel like that is one of the key points of self-love, is learning how to trust yourself. Because I think, especially, we've just been talking a lot about relationships today. So, in relationships, that trust factor is key. And if you don't trust yourself, how are you ever able to trust anybody else?
That's so true. It's like a mirror almost. Whatever you give yourself, it kind of mirrors in a relationship with someone else and can affect it in that way. Ooh, okay. So it's really like, yeah, it's really like navigating yourself, and self-love should be step one before even getting in a relationship.
Great. With the I've been listening to Buff Bunny, so she's someone who's been like a huge motivator for me just throughout these past couple of months, and really just being in this era of like, I'm dating myself, I'm learning more about myself. Because guys, no matter how old you are or how much reflection and deep diving and healing you have done, you can learn something new about yourself every single day. Taylor and I were just talking this morning about how we just wake up a new version of us every single day. And she said, she was like, when I accepted that and I stopped fighting the fact that I'm just a new version of myself every day, that's when she felt so whole and complete. And she had that version and that level of self-love. So that's kind of what had inspired the podcast. But when it came to listening to Buff Bunny, it's just like she asked herself all these questions. Like, she's asking herself every single day, like, what do I like? What do I want to do today? What do I want to try? What's something that I've always thought about doing? Like, what's my beliefs here? It's just about deep diving into you. And I think that the better you know yourself, just the more confident you're gonna feel, because you're just gonna be like, yeah, like, this is me. This is what I do. Like when I'm at the gym and my best friend calls me for my birthday and I jump in the air and I do a little spinny spin, like everyone's whipping their head, like, what the fuck is this girl doing? And I'm like, I got a lot of energy. I'm gonna do a little twirlsies. I'm happy. Like, I'm just like a fairy sometimes, and I just jump up and down randomly. Like,
Oh, that
and
was the cutest thing ever.
so embarrassed of it. Like, I remember in the gym, I'd always be so self-conscious. Like when I was like dancing and stuff, and like I was like with somebody else and they weren't really doing it, and I'd be like, oh my God, like, are they embarrassed of me? That used to be a huge limiting belief for me. I'd be like, am I embarrassing to my partner? And like, that was such an obstacle I had to overcome. And what I realized was that I was embarrassed of myself in some sort of way, and or I think it was honestly a little bit of programming. I was like taught to be embarrassed, and I was taught to just like perform, like be just like who you're expected to be. But that's not who I am. I'm an Aquarius baby. And like when I started diving into my birth chart and I started learning more about my sign, oh my God, was that such a game changer, because there's so many things about myself that I cannot change. Like, I'm airy fairy because I'm literally an air sign, you know?
Yeah.
Aquariuses, they are meant to be different. So like my whole life, I always wanted to just like fit in, and I always wanted people to like me, and I just wanted to be somebody that my family was going to be proud of. But Aquariuses are meant to be different. Like my career, the entrepreneurship, the creativity side of me, all of this makes so much freaking sense. It makes so much sense because I understand these things. But these used to be things that I was a little embarrassed of, or I felt like I had to like hold back because I didn't know if I wanted to be that girl that was like seen dancing randomly or like being weird. And I think that's where it came from with the beginning of this podcast, or I guess it was the middle, where I was like, I don't know if I'm necessarily ready for like all of that, like all of those eyes. That's kind of like where it comes from, because at the end of the day, I feel like self-love is leading with 100% authenticity, but sometimes that could be a little scary. And we're gonna do it anyway. We do it anyway.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is like the ultimate definition of self-love is just like being and accepting 100% of who you are. But if you don't know who you are yet, that's where the journey starts. Like you're starting, you're here. Congratulations.
My God, congratulations, guys. We're here. This is step one. And it's a journey, it's an ongoing journey. So buckle up, Buttercup. You are so right. And I think that's the foundation to all of self-love is acceptance, genuinely, and surrender to that. And to just accept yourself fully for who you are. And once you do that, it changes everything.
And can I tell you, I feel like where you should start is start accepting the things that other people didn't accept about you. Right?
Mm.
That's really where I started. I was like, oh, like you don't like that I I remember one, my first boyfriend ever, he said I was a loud chewer. Like he was like, you chew really loudly. Yeah. And that was something that has stuck with me forever. So now I'm just like, yeah, I love my food. I don't give a fuck. I want to eat my food how I want to eat it, you know? So like start maybe with like things that you have struggled with in the past with like other people accepting about you. I'm going to be straight up with you guys. One of these things was my spirituality because I had another boyfriend and he was very, I don't even know what his religion was, but I feel like he was pretty religious and he was just like a lawyer. So, you know, just very much so had that mind. And he flat out called me crazy over my spirituality. Like, seriously, he thought I was cuckoo pants and he broke up with me over it. And now I kind of understand because I'm just like, it is kind of cuckoo. It is kind of woo. Like Taylor said, it's a little delulu. But let me tell you, I connect with people who feel and believe the same exact things so much more deeply than I ever connected with anybody like that, you know? So it's just like start with things that maybe people didn't necessarily accept about you, and how can you accept it within yourself? Because that was really the things that were the hardest for me and that were holding me the most back was anything that I felt like I was rejected or kind of denied or not chosen or not valued over.
That's so powerful. And that's shadow work too, you know, like you can do shadow work for self-love and what's kind of standing in the way of you viewing yourself as the light of your life. I kind of think of it like we're given this one avatar and we're just kind of like shot into earth and we're just like, okay, now your only job is to take care of this avatar. Like, love it, feed it, protect it. Like, you only have this one life. We're only here for such a limited time. And the outside world, our society, you know, is so rigged in the opposite direction. Like, if you are very pop culture or you're very social media in a way of like the trends and like what, not to say like Botox and filler and all the, you know, body enhancements aren't great if you like that type of thing, like if it makes you feel like you can love yourself, whatever. Um, but there's so many external things going on in the world that will shed light on what you don't like about yourself and the comparison aspect of it. You know, there are models and like Photoshop, and there's just so much that can trick your mind into thinking you're not enough. So it's so, so important to be able to feel this wholeness before presenting yourself to the world and before really deep diving and like opening your heart and receiving things because it's like you are vulnerable at the end of the day. Like everyone is. And we've all felt this before. If you've ever seen, I don't know, like a beautiful girl and you're just not feeling really pretty yourself and like maybe you're out with your boyfriend and he looks at her for like a little bit too long or something and you can get in your head. This didn't happen to me in my current relationship, but in my past ones. And then I would get in my head and be like, oh, well, she is a lot prettier than me. And like, you know, you do comparisons and that's where you kind of like dim your light and that self-love gets a little jumbled up. But it's like when you have that very strong foundation, you can look at a million beautiful girls and you just trust in the fact of like, I am me and no one else can say that. And I love myself wholly for all of my imperfections. And that is the most beautiful spot to get in your life because genuinely no one can take that away from you. No one. And no external factor can shake that in you. Like, there's no more liberating feeling. And I wish that upon every female in this world that they can feel that at one point or another is that wholeness inside themselves. So we're helping you get there.
This episode is brought to you by Flow, a yoga, meditation, and massage studio where wellness isn't just a routine, it's a ritual. Whether you're looking to melt into a soul-soothing massage, and trust me, they're amazing, flow through an energizing hot yoga class, or quiet your mind with guided meditation, Flow is the place to go deeper into relaxation, into movement, into yourself. So if you're in Asbury Park, New Jersey, or you're flying in just like me, treat yourself to the experience you deserve. Join the waitlist now at ebbandflownj.com and click the link in the show notes for more details. We cannot wait to see you there. I love everything that you just said because you're so right. There's so many external validations, quick fixes, comparison, and I feel like if you're starting to go into that kind of spiral, take it back to what is something that you can do for you, right? So, for example, on Sunday, I had an entire self-care day. And when I broke down what were the main takeaways that I got from the day, it was like mindful movement. I went to the gym and I got some hot girl walks in. I cleaned my home, so that was really energetic and spiritual. I cleaned my home. I did some sage and Palo Santo, so that made me feel really good. Then nutrition. Like a lot of my day when I did my little like day in the life as a fitness coach, it was eating, which is so funny, but like it was just making sure I was fueling my body. And then the next part was reflection and goal setting. So I wanted to look at, well, how was my week? How was I feeling? How am I feeling? I'm going to reflect right now on how overall I'm feeling after this week. And then I set some goals of how do I want to feel? What do I want to do this week? How do I want to show myself love? And I really took that entire day for me. But if you think about all of the things that I did, they were so simple. Like, don't overcomplicate it. Like, don't overcomplicate self-love. Like, it doesn't have to be this crazy hard adventure, like it can literally be as simple as you are giving yourself a good quality Whole Foods meal. And it could be as simple as that. Like that was something that I loved in my relationship was when I was getting cooked for, which was so often. And I think another part of self-love that I really want to remind you guys of is being grateful and saying out loud how grateful you are for yourself for doing the actions, but also if you are in a relationship or your friend maybe cooks for you, like make sure you verbalize that so that you're really being in that energetic vibration of like, this is amazing. Like take it for what it is and really feel it all because that's really the last thing about it is self-love is a feeling, right? So it's like allow it to overwhelm you with all of this love. Like allow it to be overflowing at all times because girl, like if you love yourself, you're not going to have to worry about loving anybody else. It's just going to come naturally.
Oh, I love it. And I feel like we could go on and on and on about this topic because there's so many aspects to self-love, genuinely. Um, but I feel like we gave you a good starting point. Maybe we'll have a part two because
So we just said that at the same time.
oh, really? Oh my God. Girl, usually when we talk at the same time, it'll cut off someone's audio. So I think yours was cut off. But I just saw you go.
But yeah, maybe we'll have a part two.
Yeah, because this is just an endless journey. And there's still more that we're learning too, by practicing it every day and more things come up. So I think that is what we will leave you guys with.
I feel like we gave you guys a lot. So if I could say anything, I would listen to this one again, like play it back. If there's anything that really resonated with you, pull out your notes section. I do this when I listen to podcasts all the time. I'll pull out my notes and I'll just write some key takeaways. I'll write maybe a journal prompt, or if I asked a question, you're like, ooh, like what would my answer to that be? Like make sure you take it out and you can go back and you can listen to it at any time. But I definitely would just recommend take some time sitting with yourself about this topic. You know, I know that as much as it's like love, like sometimes that can be a little scary or it can feel a little hard. And the more that you sit with yourself and you practice this, like practice makes perfect. And at the end of the day, self-love really is just that. It's just a practice. So you don't need to be perfect at it, but it's just about progress over perfection.
Yes, that is key. And I love that quote. I use it all the time.
True.
So I just love love.
And we love you. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you for all of your guys' support with the rebrand. Oh my gosh, we put so much effort, energy, positive intention into this. And we were so excited for today to be the first official podcast of the Aligned Feminine. So more conversations and goodness and love and alignment to come. We are so excited.
Yeah, and a big thank you to you guys for being along this journey with us. Like 51 episodes. Like, that's a lot. That's like a lot.
You're,
So, that's a lot of love that we're giving out for free.
you're welcome. Peace and love.
You're welcome. You'll get the bill in the mail. So, on that note, Sammy, where can they find you and your love?
Y'all can find me on my Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, all the things. Sammy Roos _. And y'all know how to spell it. If not, just look in the show notes.
Just refer back to the last 50 episodes.
Literally, where I used to spell it out every single time.
Yeah, I mean, that's important for some people.
Really is. I kind of got tired. It was a mouthful, so y'all understand.
Y'all get it. You'll figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
So, speaking of rebranding, I just kind of rebranded my business too. So, the Melt Massage is going to be a different Instagram handle, which I'm realizing the last 50 episodes I have been talking about the last one. So, it is not the last one. Now it's going to be Melt Massage _NJ on Instagram. So if you want to follow me on that, all things massage and wellness, and visit our studio in Asbury Park when it opens in April 2025.
Do we know the date yet?
We don't know the date yet,
We'll
but when I do, y'all will be the first to hear it. Better believe that. There's going to be a countdown and everything on this podcast.
Oh my God. Well, as you guys can see, I'm like eagerly looking to buy my plane ticket. I'm like, oh my gosh, do we have a date? Because like I'm coming out there, coming in fucking hot. So exciting things happening. And we're so grateful because we could not do any of this without you guys. So just thank you so much. You pay us back your bill. It's just by listening and sharing. We really appreciate all the support.
Yeah, oh, genuinely. So until next week, you guys, just remember that we love you.
Love you.
Bye.